What's up, everyone? Tera Roberts here with FantasyPros, bringing you my top 10 waiver ads of the week for week 7. It's a huge week with bye weeks, so many of you may be looking not only for season-long stashes, but for some streaming options as well. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Number 10, Ricky Seals-Jones. Ricky Seals-Jones has turned in yet another solid performance, a top 10 performance at tight end this week. He caught 4 of his 6 targets for 58 yards and 1 touchdown, and he's filling in very nicely during the absence of Logan Thomas and can be a nice streaming option for this week with multiple tight ends on buys this week. And on top of that, he faces Green Bay, who just gave up a decent outing to Cole Kmet. Seals-Jones is playing 100% of snaps and was 3rd in targets behind JD McKISSIC and Terry McLaurin. Number 9, MARQUEZ CALLAWAY. If you follow FantasyPros on our other social media platforms, and I hope you do, you might have caught me talking about MARQUEZ CALLAWAY as a waiver wire option during his bye week last week if you had the room to stash him. CALLAWAY had a very rough start to the season, causing many fantasy managers to understandably bail out on him, but now he's in the softer part of his schedule with the Saints and has been productive over the past 2 weeks. And I expect that production to continue as he faces Seattle this week, followed by Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and then Tennessee. Michael Thomas is likely to come off IR soon, and I only see that as a benefit for CALLAWAY, who can now assume his role as the wide receiver 2, while Michael Thomas takes on those top defenders. Number 8, RHAMONDRE Stevenson. So I don't expect RHAMONDRE Stevenson to dig into Damien Harris's workload, as Harris has looked fantastic in games where New England wasn't abandoning the run, and Stevenson's week 6 goal line touchdown came after Harris appeared to be dealing with an injury after several big runs. But what intrigues me with RHAMONDRE Stevenson is the 3 for 3 receptions for 39 yards this week. New England needs to fill that James White void, and for a while now, it seemed like they were going to lean on Brandon Bolden, but Bolden was suspiciously quiet this week. If Stevenson can gain Bill Belichick's trust and be that pass-catching back and be that complimentary back to Harris, he can have a nice role within this offense. That, plus the handcuff upside, makes him worth a roster. Number 7, T.Y. Hilton. It wasn't a huge game for Indianapolis pass catchers as the Colts opted to lean heavily into the run, but T.Y. Hilton led the team in targets, going 4 of 4 for 80 yards and looked really good while doing it. Hilton did leave the game with a quad injury, but considering the game was a blowout, we can't know for sure if it's serious or just something the team did because they didn't feel like it was worth risking his health when he truly wasn't needed on the field. So do keep an eye on that and monitor his practice participation throughout the week. Number 6, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a career day, catching 4 of his 5 targets for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was on the field for 78% of snaps, and this is the 2nd week in a row he's been productive. He's young, he's talented, and he seems to be growing a nice rapport with Baker Mayfield. When Jarvis Landry returns from IR, the work for Peoples-Jones could dip, but ride the wave while you can because the upcoming schedule for Cleveland is receiver-friendly and Peoples-Jones can be a good flex option. Number 5, DEMETRIC FELTON. Due to injuries this week, this waiver list is heavy on Cleveland Browns, so at number 5 we have DEMETRIC FELTON. Felton was not incredibly involved in week 6, though he did see his highest snap count of the season at 20%. But with Kareem Hunt looking like he's going to be out for multiple weeks and Nick Chubb battling a calf injury as well, Cleveland has to sort out how their backfield looks moving forward. And it's likely that Felton will play some type of role in it. Felton is more of a pass-catching back, and when I say more of a pass-catching back, I truly mean it, because he has yet to have a rushing attempt on the season and has worked exclusively in the pass game. But considering how Cleveland uses Chubb and Hunt in their 2 very specific roles, it's likely that Felton falls into that pass-catching back role. The ambiguity and the reliance that Cleveland has on the run game is what makes him a waiver wire ad for me this week. Number 4, AJ Green. AJ Green has been settling in so nicely to his role with the Arizona Cardinals, and aside from week 5 against the 49ers, he has had an incredibly consistent target share, with 6 targets every single week. This week against Cleveland, Green caught 5 of those 6 targets for 79 yards and 1 touchdown. It'll be interesting to see how the addition of Zach Ertz affects this target share, but Green's snap count has been the second highest on the team behind only DeAndre Hopkins, so he'll continue to have opportunities moving forward. Number 3, Rashod Bateman. Rashod Bateman is someone who you should have stashed before he was coming off IR, but he is still very available in many leagues and is a must-add. This week really wasn't a good indication of the pass volume for the Ravens moving forward because the game scripted as one where the Ravens would attack the Chargers' weakness, which is their run defense. So Lamar's targets and yardage were very low, but Bateman led the team in targets tied with Mark Andrews for 6 targets, catching 4 of those targets for 29 yards. It's not a ton of usage, but the usage is very encouraging, and the back half of the Ravens' schedule is very pass-friendly. Number 2, J.D. McKISSIC. Much to the frustration of those who roster Antonio Gibson, it was a J.D. McKISSIC day. McKISSIC had 8 carries for 45 yards and caught 8 of his 10 targets for 65 yards. When a defense is vulnerable against the pass, McKISSIC seems to take the spotlight out of the backfield. It's not consistent, but it is kind of predictable, and when he hits, he is delivering high-end RB2 performances and very worthy of a roster spot. Number 1, D'Ernest Johnson. Coming in as the top waiver wire ad for this week is D'Ernest Johnson. Much like his teammate DEMETRIC Felton, Johnson only saw 20% snap count as well. It seems crazy putting him as the top waiver wire ad over guys that have been more productive and more consistent, but we've had multiple situations this year where a running back appeared to be progressing or avoiding IR only to turn around and have a multiple week setback. You almost have to take the chance here and prioritize the running back who could be the lead back on a run-first team. We talked earlier about DEMETRIC Felton falling into the pass-catching role. Johnson typically hasn't been used in the pass game and profiles more as stepping into Chubb's role as the ground attack back. So monitor Chubb's progress heading into the Browns' Thursday night game. And that wraps things up for my top 10 waiver ads of the week. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to FantasyPros across all platforms so you don't miss out on any of our great content throughout the season. And be sure to come back next week for another round of waiver wire ads.